Good morning, everyone. In the interest of time, we are going to get started here. It is Monday, December 22nd, and my name is Katie Carter. I'm a meteorologist and emergency response specialist with the National Weather Service. So here is your state briefing. We have some good news for folks who are maybe taking a few days off for the holidays or the whole week, but still need to kind of keep an eye on how things are looking for the forecast. We have a relatively benign weather pattern with really no major weather concerns on the horizon. But all of that being said, we're seeing some signs that sort of the end of the week, if you've been paying attention to the forecast, originally it was looking very warm. We're talking like near 70 degrees for a few locations for Friday. Now that's certainly still possible, at least the warmer than normal air, but there are some signs pointing in the direction of some colder air filtering in from the north, which could kind of change things up a little bit, as we'll talk about. But no white Christmas in Virginia. Anywhere in Virginia, it's going to be far too warm for that. And this milder trend that's certainly a cold start today. We'll see some milder air this afternoon, but truly milder for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then maybe bleeding into later this week. But the summary, this slide here was sent in the slides briefing, so you can go back and look at the summary, but I promise I'm going to go over everything, so I don't need to read PowerPoint slides to you. But here's the pattern that we have today. High pressure up and down the East Coast, plenty of sunshine. That's exactly why we started off with a really cold morning this morning. It's not going to be quite that cold for the next few days waking up, but we are looking at a lot of sunshine today and just a pretty nice day overall. Tomorrow we have a front approaching. We have possibly a few light showers that are going to be moving through about midday. Actually, overnight tonight through midday, we have that chance, but it's just looking like there's not much moisture to this, so I'm not concerned at all. There might be a bit of a wintry mix to begin with, but even that, we're not looking at anything accumulating or causing any sort of issues for travelers at all, so that is looking good. Wednesday should be kind of an in-between period, still quite mild, above normal, dry, and then as we get into Christmas Day, Thursday, and Friday, we have a series of low pressure systems just kind of that could be changing the weather pattern as mentioned. So if you looked at the forecast and thought, gosh, it's going to be so warm Christmas Day and Friday, that it's going to be near 70 degrees, that might be changing. And along with it, there might be some wintry mix chances, especially in Northern Virginia come Friday. So before we get to that, short term, as I mentioned, overnight tonight through about midday tomorrow, not much that we're working with here. We have the chance for just a few hundredths of an inch, maybe up to a tenth of an inch of rainfall. And this is not much to measure here at all, but there is a chance. Now let me get to actually pulling this screen over here. This is one model that just kind of gives us a sense of how things might play out tonight. Again, going to breeze through this because there's just not much to it, but this is the National Blend of Models. 7 p.m. tonight, nothing going on. It's really after midnight that we start to see the chance for a few brief showers, mainly in the western part of the state in Northern Virginia, not much in central or eastern Virginia, but again, a few hundredths of an inch. Waking up tomorrow morning, there could be a few brief rain showers sticking around generally east of I-95. And again, the chance lingers through about midday and then tapers off. So that is definitely not the drought buster that we need. Oh, wow, sorry. Chesterfield County, excuse me. My phone is going off for the runaway teenager in Chesterfield County. It scared me a few times this morning. I apologize. But again, not much moisture that we're working with this round. Winds certainly not strong today. We'll see them pick up a little bit tomorrow out of the south, but that southerly shift is going to help drive in that milder air. And it's not going to be damaging wind by any stretch of the imagination, but a little bit breezy, especially for most of the state along and west of I-81, but truly throughout the I-81 corridor is where the strongest winds are going to be tomorrow, out of the south from about 15 to 25 miles per hour. So again, nothing crazy, especially like compared to the other day, but still breezy nonetheless. And then Wednesday, we see a shift in the winds coming out of the north and things calming down quite a bit. Looking at that short term through the midterm, today through Wednesday, this rain chance here is really just tonight through midday tomorrow, as I mentioned. And then, then the Thursday through Sunday period, this is what we're looking at for our Friday potential. So even Friday's chance of rain or snow, depending on how much cold air intrusion we get from the north, it's still not looking impressive. So all of that being said, even if we have a little bit of wintry mix, at least at this point, still, again, a lot of uncertainty with how things are going to play out on Friday. It's not looking like there's a whole lot that this system's working with. So I don't expect a major change in the forecast in terms of, oh my gosh, all of a sudden there's 3 to 6 inches. No. So you can cross that off of the table, but it still needs to be watched closely. So now I'm going to bring in just to show you the difference, getting a little bit technical here, but just showing you how much has changed with the forecast. So the right side of your screen is the temperature anomaly for yesterday's model run of Friday. So the anomaly is, again, just the difference from normal. So you see a lot of reds on this map, with the exception of Northern Virginia, which was slightly cooler than normal, but most of the state, Friday's forecast was looking well above normal. Again, we were talking about the forecast of potentially upper 60s to near 70 degrees, and just yesterday. Now today, we're looking at the same time frame on Friday. You can see the intrusion of that cold air to the north is just, there's a lot stronger of a high pressure system that the models are picking up on, and it's drawing in that colder air to much of Virginia for that same time period. So that being said, we have to keep an eye on, this is just the one model that's saying, hey, it might be colder than you think, but we like to always see that there are trends to the models and not just all of a sudden one major change overnight and, putting all of our eggs in one basket. So that is just the caveat there. But what we could be looking at, this is the European model, so just one model solutions of what it could look like. And I wanted to start with Thursday, just given the holiday, but there might be a few small little sprinkles on Thursday, but not much to speak of for the Christmas holiday. But then you'll see that the way that the European model is picking up on Friday, you see a little bit more moisture, and then you see some pinks moving in. So that there is a freezing rain that is being picked up by the European model. And that's, again, just one solution. But if I switch over to the GFS, this is a lot more robust with the amount of moisture and the cold air too. So this is a different scenario, but two of them pointing in that direction of, hey, there might be something, especially north of 64 for Friday, that we need to keep an eye on. It's still too early and a lot of uncertainty to say definitively how this is going to play out, because again, one model run all of a sudden clinging onto cold air, but it's something that we need to keep a close eye on in the coming days, unfortunately, just to make sure that we know how Friday is going to play out. So Thursday, there will not be a briefing because of the holiday, but the National Weather Service is always working. There's always somebody on shift. So if there are major changes to the forecast between now and then, before Friday, you will know about it. You will get an update. There may or may not be a live briefing, but if there are major changes, you will get an email update with what those changes are. Now, just a high-level overview. This snapshot was taken this morning before the National Weather Service. We were able to get in and really change what our thinking was for the high. So that's why you're saying, hey, but you said Friday was going to be trending colder, but I see those upper 60s and 70s still in the forecast. Yeah, because as I mentioned, we haven't changed. We know that models are trending that way, but we haven't officially changed our forecast to reflect that quite yet, which is why you're still seeing that warm air extending through Friday. But certainly warmer than normal. Average highs should be, in the 50s, upper 40s to near 50. So certainly warmer than that Tuesday through at least Thursday, and then possibly stretching into Friday. But not too much rain or even precipitation that we're looking at. So that's good news. The 6 to 10 day outlook rounding out 2025, you can see that temperatures are generally going to trend warmer than normal. And then precipitation looks to be kind of leaning below, probably close to average or maybe a little bit lower than average for the last few days of December. And then one thing that folks sometimes are interested in, depending on, what you're preparing for, there is just a relatively minor threat for a G1 or a minor impact to our communications due to a geomagnetic storm. It's not a strong one, and you can see that the threat is pretty low, but we have about a 35% chance of seeing a minor storm, which you can see the impacts on your screen here. Power systems, weak power grid fluctuations could occur during a weak storm. Spacecraft operations, minor impacts to satellite operations possible, and those are really the main threats with a minor storm. But that is all I have for the briefing today. Pending any questions otherwise, thanks for tuning in for this holiday week. And as a reminder, you will get a follow-up to this recording on YouTube after this, and any major updates to the forecast will be sent out at the very least via email, so you can look for that.